Today in the workshop, we're going to be painting up clone troopers from the 212th and the 501st for Star Wars Shatterpoint. Let's get started. All right, so we're starting off with a primer coat of Army Painter Matte White for both the miniatures. After that has had time to dry, I'm going to pick up Citadel Soulblight Gray, which is a shade, and I'm going to cover the entire model with a layer of Soulblight Gray. The idea being to get all of that color into the cracks and the crevices and to give the overall model a little bit of a used look, not too much. That's why I chose this color, because it's kind of subtle. And then I'm going to work fast on these because not only do I want to get the color on the model, but afterwards I want to go through each section and make sure that I pull off areas that have pooled, because I don't want large blobs of dark pooled gray color. I want a nice consistent coat with the recessed areas and the lines highlighted. So we're going to go ahead and finish both these guys up, and then we'll come back. All right, these guys are looking good now. As you can see, it's a nice, relatively even coat, no big blobby areas. So our next step is to take Citadel White Scar, and we're going to give the entire miniature a light dry brushing. And the purpose of this is to bring back the high points and make them a little bit whiter and make them stand out. So I'm going to use my small round dry brush and just go over the entire model and making sure I have most of the paint off the brush. I'm just going to give it a light dry brushing, and that's going to help bring out the highlights. So we'll finish this guy and see how he looks. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this. Just enough of the shade to break up the white and fill in the lines. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next step. All right, so now we're going to move on to painting all of the black areas, his under armor, clothing, his gloves, so on and so forth. And for that, I'm going to be using Citadel Basilicanum Gray. It's a contrast color. I like using this because it's black enough to really get in the crevices, but it's still a contrast color, so it'll allow a little bit of the higher areas to show through and give a nice effect. So I'm going to try to be really careful while I'm painting in all of these black areas. I can always go back and do a little touching up on the white, but I like to try to get it pretty accurate on my first go so I don't have to do any touching up. And he looks pretty good so far. Let's move on to the squad colors. All right, so we have both our 212 and 501st troopers done with the blacks and the helmet details and everything. We're going to start with the squad colors. I'm going to start with the 212th first. We're going to be using Citadel Iyanden Yellow, which is a contrast. And for the 501st Trooper, which have blue squad colors, I'm going to be using Citadel Talassar Blue. I like the contrast colors for the color application because it doesn't give a solid patch of color. It's got a nice little bit of variation because they're contrast colors. So I'm going to start with the 212th Battalion Trooper, and we will get his squadron colors applied. Now with the yellow, I know I'm going to be using 2 coats because I want it to be really deep. I really like the contrast because it's thin and you can do nice line work with it. But sometimes you need a second coat if you want it to be a deeper color. So I'm going to go ahead and get this guy finished up and we'll see what he looks like. I'm really pleased with how he turned out. I think that color's just right. Okay, let's move on to the 501st. All right, so we are using the Talassar blue for the 501st squad colors. I've used this color before. I'm thinking that I might only need 1 coat of this color as opposed to 2 coats with the yellow, but I'm going to get some more on here and we'll just see what the overall effect is. Yeah, this looks really good. That blue covered perfectly in 1 coat. So I'm going to trim up a little bit of the mistakes I made, and then we are on to painting the bases. Okay, how many people noticed that I hadn't painted the blaster yet? Raise your hand. So we're going to obviously paint the blaster before we do the bases. And for the blaster, I'm going to use Citadel Abaddon Black. And then after I get done with the blaster, we will highlight it and then we'll be ready to do the bases. All right, I have a good coat on the blaster. We're going to go ahead and move forward with the highlighting. All right, we're going to just do some basic pin highlighting on this blaster. And for that, we're going to be using Citadel Dawnstone, watered down a little bit so we get some nice lines. All right, that highlighting went well. The blaster looks good. Everything else looks good. So it is time to move on to painting the bases. All right, so for most of these bases, there's 2 sides or 2 sections. There's like a metal side and kind of an organic or dirt side. We're going to start with the dirt side. And for that, we're going to be using Citadel Deepkin Flesh as our base. I'm going to go ahead and lay this on and see if we need another coat. That looks pretty good. Let's move on to the other side. All right, so for the other side, we're going to go back to Citadel Dawnstone and lay that in. That should give a nice contrast between the two. So let's see what it looks like. All right, so that looks pretty good. So we're going to move on to doing a wash on the dirt side and some detail work on the metal side. We're going to use Gore-Grunta fur for the wash, and it's going to give us a nice brown effect that we'll do some highlights on top of. And for the details on the metal side, we're going to go back to the Basilicanum gray and just lay in some line work. All right, so the wash and the detail work are done. We're going to move on to doing some dry brushing. For the dirt side, we're going to be using Citadel Morghast Bone. And I'm just going to grab my round dry brush and put on a little dusting of color on the top of the dirt. And then I'm also going to use that same color to do just a little line work on those cracks to help bring them out. And that is looking really good. So now for the metal side, we're going to do a little bit of highlighting with two different colors. The first one is Administratum Gray. I'm going to lay that in using that same round dry brush, and then we'll move on to the second color. All right, that part's done. So to add a little bit more complexity, we're going to give it one more quick layer, and we're going to be using Citadel Deepkin flesh for this. And then once this part's done, we'll move on to painting the outer edge. So for the last part of this project, we're going to be painting the ring around the base. And for that, we're going to be using Citadel Abaddon Black. It's a nice, solid, really good black color. And I'm just going to get a medium-sized brush and just go around the outside ring. I'm also going to be going up the little lip of the base there to cover that little crease. And once this is done, we're going to let it dry and we'll put a top coat on it, and our clone troopers will be ready to go. Perfect. Let's give these guys a clear coat. And here are our finished support units for Star Wars Shatterpoint from the 212th and the 501st. These guys look great. I'm really happy with the way they came out, and they are ready to get on the tabletop and defend the Galactic Republic. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I look forward to having you stop by again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.